Your best friend, the one who's been by your side through thick and thin, carries a storm inside him, one that spills over into your life more often than you'd like. 2 years of friendship have built a bond, a strange but undeniable connection. You've been his rock, his guide, the one who pushed him toward sobriety when the drugs were eating him alive. He's told you, with a kind of reverence, that you taught him respect, care, and sensitivity, things he never thought he'd feel again after years of chaos and pain. But even so, your friendship teeters on the edge of something darker. He's got his own baggage, a cocktail of mental health struggles, ADHD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, OCD. It's a lot, and sometimes it feels like all of that gets projected onto you. He's made it clear he's uncomfortable with who he is, and he's not just projecting his homophobia onto you, he's wrestling with it himself. He can't seem to accept his own truth, let alone yours. He makes those offhand remarks, telling you he's got to turn you straight and get you both hooked up with women, but it's not you he's talking about. It's himself. And when you call him out, he flips the script, suddenly positioning himself as an ally, acting like he's on your side when deep down, he's anything but. It's a messed up game that wears you down, a cycle you can't seem to break. It doesn't help that his past is littered with moments that would twist anyone's sense of self. The first time he was with a man, it wasn't really his choice. He was pushed into it by someone he trusted, and it left scars, mental ones that he keeps picking at. He told you how he watched porn to distract himself during the encounter, a coping mechanism for something he didn't want. He's admitted it felt more like a violation than a moment of discovery, and you told him, cut that guy off. You deserve better. He listens, nods, seems to get it, but then he falls right back into old patterns, and the cycle starts again. 2 weeks ago, he even confessed he was in love with you, out of the blue, almost in a whisper, as if he was testing the waters. But when you confronted him about it, he pulled the classic, "I never said that." It's like he wants to be honest but can't stand the weight of it, so he rewinds, pretends it never happened, leaving you caught in his web of denial and mixed signals. You're both tangled up in it, stuck in this push-pull that makes you wonder if either of you can ever really be free. You don't label your sexuality, and you've told him, many times, that you don't owe anyone an explanation, least of all him. He seems to respect that for about a minute, and then his insecurities bubble up again. He'll make some cryptic comment, like, "There's something I want to tell you," and when you prod, the conversation inevitably twists back to his internal struggle, his need to pin you down with labels that he can't even accept for himself. It's exhausting. Despite the mess, he's fiercely loyal in his own way. He stood up for you in front of your own abusive mother, something no one else would dare to do, telling her how much you mean to him, almost as if he's trying to prove his worth to you through those small acts of defiance. And when you argue, because of course, you argue, he apologizes, says he loves you, and then the very next day, he's back to his old ways. He blames his OCD, says he can't help it, and maybe that's true, but it doesn't make it any easier for you. You've both come from families that broke you down, abusive homes that taught you to fight just to survive. You're the cycle breaker, determined to carve out something better for yourself. He's the black sheep, the one who never quite fit anywhere. And maybe that's why you get him, why you haven't just walked away despite everything. But his obsession with your sexuality, his inability to let it go, is driving a wedge between you that neither of you can afford. You've tried everything to support him, helping him manage his money, setting up savings accounts and cash apps that seem to fail at every turn. He doesn't want the safety net you're trying to build, he wants something tangible, things he can touch and hold, like the shoes you bought him or the bench press set that now sits in his apartment. You're giving, and sometimes it feels like it's never enough. And soon, you're both leaving, moving out of state together, hoping a change of scenery will quiet the noise in both your lives. You've got a new job lined up, and he's applying for Social Security, trying to find work before the big move. You're trying to build something, together, apart, or whatever this is. But as the move gets closer, you can't help but wonder if you're dragging your past into your future, carrying all his unresolved pain alongside your own. Your friendship is on a razor's edge, balancing between love and resentment, loyalty and frustration. You care about each other, that much is clear. But how long can you keep fighting battles that aren't yours to fight? How do you support someone who's at war with themselves without getting caught in the crossfire? You're both running, but it's not clear whether you're running towards something better or just away from the wreckage of everything you've both been through. And you're left asking yourself, how much more can you give before there's nothing left? As the moving date inches closer, everything feels more tangled, like you're both stuck in a web you can't quite break free from. The promise of a fresh start hangs in the air, shimmering just beyond reach, but the weight of old habits and toxic cycles drags at your feet. You want to believe that a new place might cleanse the slate, that miles between your past and present will be enough to quiet the noise that's haunted both of you for years. But late at night, when you're alone with your thoughts, that doubt creeps in, an unshakable question that has been gnawing at you. Is this friendship really worth it if it costs you your peace of mind? The tension between you two has become a silent third presence in every room, growing louder with each passing day. Every conversation seems to edge closer to another argument, as if you're both balancing on a wire that could snap at any moment. And then one night, after yet another round of back and forth about labels and boundaries, about what he assumes you should be and what you refuse to be, you finally reach your breaking point. The words spill out before you can stop them, heavy and raw. I can't keep doing this, you say, your voice trembling under the weight of every unspoken frustration that's been building up inside you. I can't keep fighting you and your demons. I'm not your therapist, your savior, or whatever it is you need me to be. I'm just me. For the first time, he falls silent. It's like the air has been sucked out of the room, and in that pause, you see something shift in his eyes, pain, regret, maybe even fear. He's always been quick with excuses, always ready to deflect or lash out, but this time, he doesn't. Instead, he just stares at you, lost in a whirlwind of emotions he's never quite learned to handle. Finally, he speaks, voice barely above a whisper, his words cracking under the weight of his own self-awareness. I know, he says, his tone almost fragile. I don't want to lose you, but I don't know how to be anything other than this. It's the most honest thing he's ever said to you, and it hits like a punch to the gut. This is the moment you've been waiting for, the crack in his armor, the glimpse of the person buried under all his deflections and bravado. It's raw, it's messy, and it's real, and it stings because you've spent so long trying to hold it all together, hoping he would finally see the damage he's doing to you, to himself, to the friendship that's kept you both afloat in your darkest moments. In the silence that follows, you realize you're at a crossroads. You care about him, how could you not? But this endless cycle of fighting, making up, and breaking down is slowly eroding your sense of self. So, you draw a line, firmer and clearer than ever before. I care about you, you tell him, the words heavy with truth. But I can't keep sacrificing my sanity for your comfort. If things don't change, I'll have to walk away. He nods, slowly, and you can see the struggle in his eyes. Maybe this time he'll try, really try, to change. Or maybe he won't, and you'll be right back where you started. But in that moment, something shifts in you too. You feel the weight of the years lift, just a little, enough for you to breathe again. You're not responsible for fixing him, you're only responsible for protecting your own peace. In the days that follow, you focus on the things you can control, packing boxes, sorting through old memories, making plans for your new life. You put your energy into building a future that looks brighter, freer, and more your own. Meanwhile, he lingers on the edges, trying to sort out his own next steps, and for once, you don't feel the need to hold his hand through it all. You're both on your own paths, and while they may intersect, they are no longer tangled. The uncertainty of what comes next still looms, but there's a flicker of something new, something you haven't felt in a long time, hope. Not just for him, but for yourself. You've finally allowed yourself to see that sometimes, the bravest act of love isn't holding on, but knowing when to let go. It's recognizing that you can care for someone without letting them consume you. And it's in that realization that you find your own strength, the kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that comes from knowing you've done all you can. So, with a deep breath, you take that first step into the unknown. You don't know if this will be the beginning of something new or just another chapter in an unfinished story, but you're ready to find out. Whether your paths will stay aligned, diverge, or converge once more is still unwritten, but for now, you walk forward, together, apart, or somewhere in between, grateful for the journey, but even more grateful for the courage to choose yourself.